Hello everyone! First of all, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you for all the love you showed me in the first video. I was so touched by all the comments you left. I really didn't expect so many reactions, so thank you so much for that. Today I will be coloring a page from my book Peaceful Spring. A few days ago, I saw a post by someone who had used the tile effect to color a page, and I just loved it, so I wanted to try it too. For this effect, the page chosen has to be a simple design, without too many details. I chose this page for my book, which has a cherry pattern on it. I'm going to use alcohol markers, so the first thing I'll do is to protect the next page. The paper of these books is very thin, so these markers bleed through the other side. That's why it's important to protect the next page. In this case, it will be even sadder if I ruin the next page, because that page has already been colored. The next page you see here will also be the subject of a video in the future, which has not yet been edited, so stay tuned as it will be a complete tutorial. I usually use 2 or 3 sheets of scrap paper or a sheet of cardstock to protect the next sheet. You can also use the plastic protectors that usually come with marker sets, but I personally prefer not to because of 3 reasons. The first reason is that it's smaller than the page, so I have to move it while I color. The second reason is that since it's made of plastic, it doesn't absorb the extra ink that bleeds through to the other side. And since you have to move it to color the whole page, when you do it, the ink goes back to the top page and stains the page you're working on. This way, to avoid messing up the next page, I end up messing up the current one. To avoid this, you would have to clean the protector while you're using it. And this is the third reason. I don't like having to clean the protector between or during uses. And just to be clear, the paper I'm using is some scrap paper I have lying around, and it's no longer useful for anything else. I'm not using new paper for this purpose. I like to use paper clips to keep everything in place. Then, I take another piece of paper to choose the colors I'm going to use. I also put the protection here, so that I can use the other side later. To achieve this effect, I'm going to pick 4 colors for each element. I'll start by choosing the colors for the cherries. I'm writing down the references for each color, in case you want to know exactly which markers are used. By the way, I'm using Origo alcohol markers, which I really love. I've got the 104 and 120 color sets right now. I'll leave the link in the description in case you want to take a look. So we have the R8, the RV350, the R6, and the Y5. Next, I'll choose the colors for the cherry leaves. For this, I picked the G2, GY43, GY2, and GY5. Now I'm going to choose the colors for the background. I'm not sure what color I want for the background, because I want the cherries to stand out. I think pink would look very nice, but it might be too close to the red of the cherries. I think I'll go for something more yellow and orange. I think it will look really good. I've decided to go with YR33, Y4, BR3, and YR4. Next, I'll grab my trusty old ruler to mark the tiles. Do you also have a ruler that you've kept since school? Let me know in the comments so I don't feel alone. Now, with my relatively new pencil, I'm going to make a 1 cm grid over my drawing. Like this. I make marks every centimeter on each edge. And then I connect the dots to form the grid. I'm being very gentle with the pencil, so I don't mark the page too much, since I haven't decided on how I will be finishing the tile joints yet. I'll speed up these parts, so as not to bore you too much. We're ready to start coloring. I like to start coloring my pages by coloring the largest areas first. In this case, it will be the background. I'm going to take one of the colors I picked for the background and start coloring squares randomly. There's no right order. I'll just try not to have too many squares of the same color touching each other, but if it happens, it's no problem. I find this technique takes a lot of pressure off the process of coloring backgrounds. If you're used to coloring with alcohol markers, you know that when we are coloring on a big area, we try to color as fast as we can, because the ink dries so quickly, so we do this to avoid leaving streaks. Now that I've colored a few squares with this color, I'm going to do the same with another color. Now for the third color. And now for the fourth color. There are still a few empty spaces on the coloring page, so I'm going to start again with the colors and fill in the rest of the spaces until the background is complete. Now that we have filled in the background, let's move on to the cherries. The process is the same. I'll fill in a few squares with one of the colors and do the same with the rest, until all the areas are filled in. Now we move on to the leaves. Oh, I totally forgot to choose the colors for the cherry stems. Let's go ahead and do that. Since these are very small areas, I'm only going to choose 3 colors. This is looking good. What do you think? Now that we've filled in all the squares, to create that tile effect, we need to recreate the shadows and highlights in each one. I usually leave the highlights to the end, so I'll start with the shadows. I'm going to choose a neutral color that works well on top of all the colors I've used. I'm going to try it out here on my color swatch sheet. I'm going to try 2 shades of grey. Let's see. I think the first one is too dark. I'm going to choose the second one, which is WG01. Now I'm going to draw the shadow of each tile in the bottom right hand corner. This means I just have to draw an inverted L in each square. Of course I could do it more simply and just do all the vertical lines and then all the horizontal lines, but I don't think I'd like the overlaps that this would leave. I think it looks more natural this way. I'm also going to take advantage of this almost meditative moment to relax while doing this. But I'm not going to leave you here all day watching me draw shadows on 361 tiles. So I'm going to finish this and I'll be right back to move on to the next step. Now that I've finalized all the shadows, it's time to decide what to do with the joints. I think I'll just go over it with a black fine liner. Let's pick up our vintage ruler again. I'm going to use this marker. I'm going to turn the ruler upside down so I don't smudge the page. I'm going to remove the paper clips because they are getting in the way and I don't need them anymore. And now I just go over the marks I made with the pencil earlier. Depending on the marker you're using, it might be better not to do it like me, but to start from the top instead. This is especially helpful if you're using a medium that takes a bit longer to dry, and that could smudge the page when you go over it with the ruler. Once again, I'm going to speed up this part. Nice! We just need to add the highlights to finish this masterpiece. I'm going to use this white Posca marker with a fine tip. Since it's an acrylic marker, you have to shake it well before use. I like to test it first, to see if the ink is flowing well before using it on my page. Okay, let's start. Since the paint in acrylic markers doesn't dry immediately, and since I'm left-handed, I'm going to start in the bottom right-hand corners so that my hand doesn't run over the wet paint and smear it. To mark the highlights, we'll do it in the corner across from where we drew the shadows. So, since we drew the shadows in the bottom right corner of the tiles, the highlights would show up in the top left corner. Like this. So I'll go ahead and do this for all the tiles and come back when I'm finished. And here we have our finished page. What do you think? I don't know why, but I always like to admire what the back of the page looks like. I think it turned out really well, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I'll definitely do it again. If you try this effect, I would love to see the results, so feel free to tag me in your social media posts. I'll leave my handles in the video description, in case you don't follow me already. If you like this video, be sure to leave it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already and want to see more content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!